Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, can Governor Wes Moore persuade teens to halt gun violence? With a projected $760 million budget shortfall, can the state really afford to offer health care to the undocumented? Politicians scramble to succeed retiring Congressman Dutch Ruppersberger, and Montgomery County Police Chief Marcus Jones announces his retirement. How will this impact the safety of the citizens of Montgomery County? Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by Laurie Halverson, a member of Montgomery County Republican Central Committee, and civic activist Cary Lamari. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. What a week it's been in Annapolis this week. On Tuesday, January 30th, gun control advocates marched in Annapolis to seek an end to gun violence. And this week also, there's a major bill being introduced and discussed about teen crime and how to control it. So this has been a wonderful, wild week in Annapolis, and lobbying week is always quite interesting to see. Now, Cary, Maryland already has the 8th toughest, laws with respect to gun possession and legislation. Is there going to more law going to solve this problem?
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer. I mean, we have to get to the root causes, and Governor Moore is trying to do that. He's actually listening to the children and asking them, how do we address it? And essentially, his decision is to come at it from a racial equity, social justice perspective, to try to create a police department with more intensity, more integrity, more accountability, and he's hoping to address it through the lens of generational wealth or inequity. Okay. He wants to create opportunities, and which is something I actually supported when I ran. Create opportunities for our families, better educational opportunities, better recreational opportunities, vocational training, and higher education. I mean, that's how we come from. We need to come at it. We've got to take the generational problems that create the violence and try to turn it around.
Well, I think you're right, Cary, in the sense that, Governor Moore came from a single parent home, and he had strong family support. He talks about how his grandmother sent him to military school for high school, and that had a dramatic effect on his life. I don't think, though, that involving the police is always the best answer. Sometimes the family has to be involved, and maybe there has to be more tough talk about getting, what violence does, and gun violence in particular does. It destroys people's lives. Laurie, there are no good statistics that indicate who's responsible for gun violence. And, Governor Moore was properly correct in pointing out that teens use guns have been using guns more in the past. And he did go to Glen Burnie High School to discuss it. Is that the right approach? Is trying to involve the entire community and talk to teens in particular head on?
Well, I do like that he went over and talked to all the juveniles in a school. That was a nice gesture, and I'm sure the students were happy to be listened to. However, I think when you look at there was a change that I think when you look at the statistics, it shows that they've been bumbling since the Juvenile Justice Reform Act of 2022, where if you're under 13 and you commit a nonviolent crime, you have no repercussions, and the students know that, and they are going out and they're carjacking, and the carjackings are way up because they know they can't go to jail. And I feel like we're not seeing enough talk, like you were just saying, about the importance of family involvement. There was a huge press release where It was comical to me to watch when Wes Moore was describing his new Enough grant proposal. Enough is a word he's using that has an acronym that stands for Engaging Neighborhoods, Organizations, Unions, Governments, Households Act. I think they spent more time thinking of that acronym than they did about the actual bill, because when I look at the actual bill, it was very confusing. And I really don't see how just throwing money at different nonprofits is the answer when it doesn't really talk about the importance of families being involved with their children. So that is the key ingredient that they're not reaching. And I feel like no matter what you do, you got to touch that first.
Well, I personally think that Wes Moore has a wonderful opportunity to set an example for teens in our state, given his life story and life history. And I applaud him for going out and reaching out and discussing and taking that topic on head on. So we're going to have to wait and see. There's a lot of time left in the legislature with respect to all of the crime bills. We'll be able to talk about them at a later date. I want to switch now to healthcare because, there's estimated that there are 275,000 undocumented immigrants living in the state of Maryland, roughly about 5% of our state population. And I don't know really the whether this is a reliable source, but there's an online company called KFF that reports that as of 2023, 50% of undocumented immigrant adults in Maryland reported being uninsured compared to less than 1 in 10 naturalized citizens and 8% of US born adults. So, that's a big number, 50%. Currently, federal law prohibits undocumented residents from enrolling in federally funded coverage or to purchase coverage through the Affordable Care Act. But a few states, California being the exception, fully allow state-funded coverage to certain groups of low-income people, regardless of immigration. Cary, we would all like to have universal health care for people and have them get the care they need. But the proposal for Maryland to allow undocumented aliens to purchase health care on the private exchange comes at a cost. What do you think?
Well, you got to think about it. If 300,000 people, and I'm going on Bonnie Carlson, Delegate Bonnie Carlson's numbers. If 300,000 people in Maryland don't have health insurance, and 100,000 of those are undocumented, you got to realize that our emergency rooms is the last resort for health care for people who don't have insurance. And if you think that we're not paying for that, you'd be wrong. Our insurance premiums go up when hospitals can't collect, fees for their services. Insurance fees go up. You get stipends or money from the state to help these hospitals because they're not going to take the hit. So I'm all in support of providing opportunities, insurance opportunities for undocumented Marylanders. They're purchasing it. If we can collect some money, it's better than not collecting any money.
Well, Cary, you make a very good point. But Laurie, when the Department of Health briefed the General Assembly, it said that it could cost even $1 billion in funding subsidies. We have a huge budget deficit right now. Nobody wants to pay higher taxes. How do we balance that? How can the state afford that?
Well, we can't, and they're giving us snake oil right now because Bonnie Carlson is putting forth, she's a delegate, putting forth a bill called the Access to Care Act, which is it's not going to take effect until any time later that they choose. But they're making it sound like it's happening right now, and it's going to help a lot of people. And it's just trying to buy votes for the 2024 election. So this is selling its snake oil. That's what I thought we were going to see with the Wes Moore administration. I have another idea. It's called the DEPORT Act. Let's try that acronym and see. And I don't want to sound awful about it. It is cruel that we don't want to hurt people, but they have come here illegally, and we need to have a plan of deporting people who are breaking the law, for one thing. That's if they're, we've just seen some recent incidences where Montgomery County has ignored ICE rules and it hurts American citizens. There are now citizens getting hurt by people who are committing crimes who cross the border illegally. We've got to get a handle on this and deport some of these people, and that will reduce the cost to Marylanders, and that is a fact.
Well, I mean, we wrapped up a whole lot of topics into that one answer, Laurie. I'm not sure how this is going to play out. This same bill was brought up last year and it did not pass. The rumors are that it's not going to pass this year because it's too expensive. So we'll just have to wait and see. When we come back from this short break, retirement is in the air as Chief Jones and Representative Ruppersberger announce their retirement plans. Stay tuned. And welcome back. U.S. Representative Dutch Ruppersberger, at the young age of 78, it seems like young for a politician these days, announced that he would not seek a 12th term in November, setting off a mad scramble among potential candidates. Cary, right out of the gate, Baltimore County Executive Johnny Olszewski, Johnny O, threw his hat in the ring. Are there going to be other Democrats, or is this greased for him? Is this a done deal? Johnny O is going to get anointed as a Democratic candidate?
You've been looking for a Republican opportunity for a long time, and I think you might have one this time. Well, only for this reason. I think that Johnny Olszewski has the inside track. He's got a lot of endorsements on his side, and you're right. He is the county executive, which is exactly how Dutchy Ruppersberger started his climb up to the to Congress. I met Dutchy at Marilyn Praisner's house back in I believe the 90s, maybe the late 90s. He's very charming, very dynamic, very big man. So he has a presence. But the fact that we have three other Democrats, four other Democrats running for the same seat. One is a delegate in District 8 in Baltimore. He's an Indian from Nepal. He got a PhD, and he's a vocational teacher. And we've only got one Republican, Mr. Wallace. Fact of the matter is, Baltimore County, Baltimore City, pretty much heavy Democrat jurisdictions. But then you got that Carroll County. It's very conservative. So when you have 5 candidates running for one seat, anything could happen. Back to you.
Well, Laurie, Cary kind of stole your thunder here. I was going to say, the second district, it's got an interesting mix. It does include part of Carroll County, but it also has Baltimore County and Baltimore City in there. Can a Republican win there?
I think a really strong candidate can. However, there's still, I looked it up right now, 265,000 Democrats, 150,000 Republicans, and 35,000 or 34,000 unaffiliated. It's not likely that a Republican win, but Dave Wallace has he filed before we even knew what was going to happen, so he's already got a leg up. But Nicolée Ambrose ran in 2022 and won her primary and beat Dave Wallace. She was a strong candidate, and I think she would have a stronger chance of winning. I'd love to see her get in the race, or who knows who would get in the race that would be good. But Nicolée would be fantastic as our representative. I would love to see her try it again.
And as our viewers know, Nicolée was a longtime commentator and panelist on 21 this week.
Yes.
Back in the days when we were live in studio instead of this newfangled Zoom way of taping things. In any event, Nicolée was a dynamic person.
She's also our national committee woman currently, and she's been that for a number of years now. So she's really got a lot of experience behind her.
So Cary, if you listen to Laurie, just the registration alone would mean that this is a safe seat for Democrats.
I don't think it's a fait complete. I mean, if you listen to Laurie, though, you've got 5 candidates. If 4 Democrats, start to eat up the votes amongst themselves, there's a lot of Republicans out there.
Well, I mean, it's not, again, the primary system will weed out the strongest Republican and the strongest Democrat, and then it'll be a mano race in November. So we'll have to wait and see. We got to go on to our next topic, which is really the most interesting topic we're covering today, I think, which is the announcement by Police Chief Marcus Jones that he was retiring after 38 years on the force. Now, that's a long, distinguished career, but it came as a bit of a shock to many residents who admire the steady hand that the chief brought to the office in kind of a turbulent time. Cary, what do you know, and what's behind this?
Well, I've actually talked to a couple of police this week, and they just reaffirmed what I already knew. Why is he retiring? I mean, think about it. He spent 38 years in service here in Montgomery County, and that's actually one of his claim to fames. He is from Montgomery County. We hired from within. He used to be a commander in District 3. His claim to fame within the department is that he listens to people in the police department. He uses innovative techniques to try to, address problems, or address crimes. We don't have the public resources. We're short on our staffing, and he makes up with it, in other ways, like community engagements in Silver Spring with businesses, getting them involved to help the police. He pushed this drone first responder program. Wonderful program. We haven't even started it yet, and the police are very excited with that. There's a new camera system that he's pushed forward. It's those kind of initiatives that made him stand out. And furthermore, he's described from policemen as being very sociable, very, approachable. Okay. When you have a police department that's been demoralized by the county council, they tell me that it just gave them a certain degree of just trust and, good feelings to have someone in the department move their way up to.
Well, I think that's why his retirement comes as a bit of a shock. And Laurie, Chief Jones seems, as Cary described, he's a highly respected guy, decent guy. Is this a big loss for the county?
Yeah, and I would say he was very diplomatic. And it worked. I think that's the word used for him, and it worked for all the Democrats that are in power, who are all of our elected officials. I was not happy that he didn't fight harder for the full SRO program in our schools, so that there's a huge weakness now in our schools because of that. But you know what? If he had fought really hard, they might have fired him. So you've got to completely, you've got to think about what can you do, what can't you do if you want to keep your job. Unfortunately, there's this huge pressure in Montgomery County to be woke and to act woke with your police force. And I wish we could have someone who gets away from some of that and who actually focuses on the law, who works with ICE.
Well, law and order seems to be a bad word these days, but I mean, the police chief can only do so much if your county council is tying their hands on the methodology. So
yeah, so I'm worried who we're going to get. I mean, I hope it is someone from within. And I know Chief Jones is trying to promote that. And so that might be the best option, but I'm afraid it's not going to change too much with our current county council.
You bear in mind, we have We have in Montgomery County about 1.3 police for every 1,000 residents. Jurisdictions our size have between 2.4 to 2.8 police per 1,000 residents. I mean, it depends on whether you're suburban or urban. The District of Columbia, which is 2/3 our size, has 600,000 people in it, has 3,000 police, whereas we here in Montgomery County, we only have 1,000. One thing that Marcus has stated on numerous occasions, and I actually heard him say this to the county council. Look, I'd like to have more resources. I'd like to have more money, but the Montgomery County Police Department will adapt. That has become his
well, we're short 150 officers right now. That's 12% of the police force. And so our next, I would love to fill those positions before Chief Jones leaves. It sounds like he's leaving that to the next person to try to figure out. We really got to fill those positions. Well,
but I mean, let's face the issue. All police forces these days have vacancies. It's become very difficult to recruit. Well, they have. I mean, it's harder to recruit. I mean, I think they talk about the bonus the bonus program the chief instituted to hire new recruits because we had dismal recruiting classes in 21 and 22. We couldn't, we were having a hard time even bringing in new officers. So it's something that's the county council has to look at the health, wealth, and safety of the citizens of Montgomery County a little bit more closely, I think. And I'll let you guys have the last word on this.
Well, the bottom line is we should hire somebody from within. The county has hired an outside recruiting firm. The police officers I talked to just kind of like shook their heads saying, I don't know. But bear in mind, when you've got a $20,000 sign-in bonus, that's wonderful. But when the District of Columbia says, gee, we'll give you $25,000 sign-up bonuses, that kind of puts the kibosh on our county. And not to mention, our first raise was the last election. And, here we thought we were catching up to the other jurisdictions. Come to find out, they got a raise. They brought them up to it. And then DC and Fairfax raised theirs.
Well, it's a competitive market. I mean, it just shows capitalism at work. It's a competitive market. Absolutely. And we need better police officers. Laurie, I'm going to have to not let you speak. We got to go to a hard break. Stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from this short message. And now with parting shots, Laurie Halverson.
Yes, if you are Republican or you are interested in learning more about our Republican Party in Montgomery County, I urge you to subscribe to mcgop.com and you'll get newsletters. And we're having a couple events coming up. On February 13th, there's a Lunar New Year celebration in Gaithersburg. You can sign up at mcgop.com under events. And then on February 15th in Poolesville, there's going to be a forum for Congressional District 6 for all the Republican candidates. So that would be a great opportunity to learn about the candidates before you vote for them in the primary. So just wanted to shout that out for today.
Thank you, Laurie. Cary Lamari, your party shot.
Thank you, Casey. Okay, there's two bills in Annapolis that I have huge concerns over. Actually, one that I have the concern, one that I support unequivocally. The one that I have concern is put up by David Moon. It's Bill 824. It attacks, from my perspective, it attacks property owner rights for anyone who owns a property in a homeowners association. There's some constitutional questions. It may not make it out of committee, but essentially what they want to do is take your rights away on the homeowner documentation that you signed when you bought your property. I wouldn't let them do that. And the second one that I support unequivocally is PG Montgomery County 112-24. It's put out by Ben Kramer, and it's to support the People's Council for Montgomery County. Our council doesn't want to fund it. Ben stepped up to the plate, and he's going to try to get Annapolis to fund it. Thank you.
Thank you, Cary, and thank you, Laurie. There are a lot of interesting bills being discussed right now. We'll have to wait and see what they look like. But as we get to celebrate the Lunar New Year, Year of the Dragon, everybody loves that year. I want to thank you both for appearing this week. I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.